So once again, welcome to the Unshakable Foundation meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. This is a main share meeting, and today it's with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Olis, who's come to share for up to 40 minutes on the topic of freedom from the bondage, after which we'll open up to the Q&A portion of the meeting. And with that, it's over to you, Olis. Thank you.
Hi, family. My name is Olis, and I'm a grateful member of Cocaine Anonymous. And I do refer to myself as a drunk. I want to begin with appreciation that Young invited me to speak. And I want to say that it's always an honor to speak at a meeting of recovery. And, you know, I don't like to speak. And the first time I got asked to speak in CA, I was like, oh, but, you know, I don't consider Coke and they were like, yeah, that's not what this is, right? It's not drug specific. And I want to appreciate that about CA, because when I got here, I didn't even think that I was an alcoholic, right? Like, you come in and you can't see yourself. And so this open, welcoming door means that you don't have to identify one way or another. We just ask that you be here. So thank you, Young, for reaching out to me. Thank you for being patient with me. Anybody that knows me knows I'm terrible on WhatsApp. It's just horrible. Look, I'm 63. I can answer my phone. I could pull a voicemail. I could reply to a text message, and I can answer an email. Then my cup is full. It's full. It's full. So yeah. I spend a lot of time on TikTok. If you message me on TikTok, I'm not going to see that either. So, like, Young, thank you for your patience with me. So let me get to it. My clean date is May 21st, 1987. So I've got 37 years and a few months of continuous unbroken sobriety or clean time. And that sounds crazy if you're new. I remember when I was new and somebody said they had 10 years, I was like, you're a liar. You're a liar. What? How could you not? How could you not? I started drinking at 4 years old. I switched to scotch at 8. I already grew up in bars, so by the time I was 13, like, I was going into bars. And here's the thing, no young girl in a bar needs money, right? It's, you know. And so I drank a lot. And I did a lot of drugs, right? But the thing that I want to talk about today is I want to talk about what I've come to understand the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, the program of Cocaine Anonymous, is really about, which is this freedom from the bondage of self. And I want to relate it back to Unshakable Foundation. So just bear with me. Let me acknowledge that I'm in the middle of a move, and I don't know if you can see, but I'm sitting in the middle of unpacked boxes, right? And I'm sharing that because freedom from the bondage of self is showing up no matter what, is being true to your word. That's what it means for me, no matter what. If I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do that. And that when I got here felt restrictive. It felt onerous. It felt like some kind of straitjacket. And what I've come to find is it gives me freedom. So let me do the qualifying things and get those out of the way. I have a sponsor. Her name is Nancy C. She knows that she's my sponsor. I sponsor men and women, and for me, that means I walk them through the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we talk about their real life situations and challenges, and I use the text of Alcoholics Anonymous to put the spiritual tools, the spiritual principles in practice. Like, what does that look like with skin on it? Like, what does it look like in practice? And this freedom from the bondage of self is a thing that I talk about a lot with my sponsor and my sponsees. That it turns out that what I'm really suffering from is my point of view. How about that? I thought that I was suffering from being drunk. No, I am suffering from being trapped in seeing things from my point of view. And then I can't see the world around me. I can't have perspective. And in that, I don't have compassion. I don't have empathy. I don't have a real sense of who I am, because I am who I am in relationship to the world around me. Let me put that in a different way. I am perfect at home by myself. Perfect. I'm without character defects alone. When I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, when I got to the rooms, they told me, if you want to meet your defects of character, get into a relationship. What? Right. Because it's in relationship with you. It's me bumping up against you at the supermarket, at the family dinner, at church, at my job, right? That's where I see who I am. And when I see who I am, I get to then use the spiritual tools, the simple kit of spiritual tools that you guys laid at my feet. I got to bend down and pick them up. I get to use them to become a better version of myself, to become a better person, to become my aspirational self is maybe a better way to say it. So, Unshakable Foundation, if I'm not mistaken, and Lord knows I could be mistaken, right? I'm generally wrong as two left feet, which I'm going to talk about. I believe that it comes from page 98 in the 12 and 12 in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's one of my favorite lines. So if you've got a 12 and 12, you might want to pull that out and take a look at that. So on page 98, and I don't have my 12 and 12, so I'm looking on my phone, so forgive me. I believe that it says that self-examination and prayer and meditation are all good things. They're all valuable things. And then it goes on and says, but when they are logically related and interwoven, two different things, logically related and interwoven, the result is what? An unshakable foundation for life. Right? An unshakable. When I got here, it took me 2 years to get a driver's license, car insurance, and a registration all at the same address. And I had a college degree, right? I thought I was a smart girl. My life was a train wreck, right? And so everything shook the foundation of my life, right? If you looked at me wrong, if you didn't speak to me, if I didn't get invited, if, you know what I mean? You didn't come sit next, like it didn't matter. Everything irritated my spiritual malady. Everything irritated my spiritual malady. So let me stop and talk about that, and then I'm going to come back and connect the Unshakable Foundation and the freedom from bondage, because to me they're very related. So what do I mean? Everything shook my foundation. Another way to say that. Everything irritated my spiritual malady. What am I talking about? I've come to understand that I have a first step problem, and that the first step in the 12 steps is the step that helps me understand what the problem is. And that problem has 3 parts. The first part of that problem is that I'm bodily different than my fellows. I put one in and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it might be cool, but probably not. I might make it home, but probably not. I might have a fight, but maybe not. I mean, it's a crapshoot. And it's like a Vegas, I don't know. You guys got a lot of gambling over there. We got a lot of gambling. The casinos are not wealthy giving money away, right? So it is like a Vegas crapshoot. The chances are not with me. The odds are not with me. But it turns out that if I stop using for some period of time, the chemicals clear my body, and it's not really the issue. Well, what's the issue? Well, the issue is that the problem centers in my mind, and that I can't trust my own thinking. I'm going to give you a couple considerations as I go. Here's the first one. And this is one I want you to think about the whole time I'm talking. And please, in the Q&A, I love Q&A. Please ask me questions. The first consideration is, if what other people do, if what other people say, if how other people act determines what you do and what you say and how you act, are you free? right? Are you free? Because, you know, my topic, freedom from bondage of self, like what does freedom look like? And if my life is at the whim and will of your behavior, your attitude, your interactions with me, then I'm not free. Okay, second consideration. The second part of my first step is my mind, right? Page 23, the top of the page. Everything that we've told you in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous to this point would be academic and moot. If the dude never took a drink, then why does he? Well, because the problem centers in my mind. So second consideration, have you ever been bet your life on something you knew you were right and later on you find out you was wrong, right? And that's how it is, right? My mind plays tricks on me. My mind convinces me of things in order to allow me to make decisions that are horrible. Like drinking again, like using again. Here's one of my favorites. You ready? I spent up all my money partying, so I'm going to work some overtime to make up the money to pay my bills because I spent all my money out in the streets. But then I work so hard and my mind convinces me that I should reward myself for all that hard work and that I should party again. This is crazy. The way that my mind will rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. I'm the person, anybody ever see the meme of the dude on the beach mopping, trying to mop up that's me. Like I'm turning over the cushions on the Titanic that's sinking, like, oh, the cushions are dry on this side, because the problem centers in the way that I think. Which relates back to the topic, right? Freedom from bondage of self. What is the bondage? Well, mostly the bondage is my point of view. The seeing things the way that I think. I've got to expand that. I can't trust my own thinking. I've got to have a sponsor. I've got to have a network. I've got to have trusted friends. And you know what? That's a little annoying at 37 years clean. You know what I mean? You think like I'd be running the show. No. Often in meetings, at least in Alcoholics Anonymous, we read how it works. And we stop at the ABCs, right? The 3 pertinent ideas. And the 3 pertinent, right before the 3 pertinent ideas, it says, you know, before and after, right? Before and after what? Before and after I get clean. And then what does it say? It says that I can't manage my own life. And I thought that meant until I got time. So when I got here, I thought, well, I had 2 years, I'd be an old timer. And then I was like, when I get 5 years, I'm going to be an old timer. Certainly when I get 10 years, I'm going to be. I got 37 years and I still feel like I'm not an old timer because I'm still learning and growing. I'm still figuring it out. And that's okay. That's the journey. That's the fun of it all. So the second part of my first step problem is my mind. But the third part of my first step problem is my spiritual malady, right? And that's the thing that keeps me here. And so what does that mean? The book is not very, very clear about it, right? But, you know, Bill had 4.5 years when he wrote the book. So let me tell you what I've come to believe that it means. I've come to believe that my spiritual malady is the delusion that I am disconnected from the power. If you look at the 11th step doesn't say get a connection with your higher power. It says become conscious of it. So I've always had a connection with the power, right? The power puts breath in my body. In every breath, it's evidence that I'm connected to the power. But what do I think? I'm out here on my own. I've got to figure it out. If I do this, then I can make that happen. Like self-will, which is kicking my behind right now. I'm going to talk about that. And so it's this third part of my first step problem that gets agitated while I'm out in the world, right? Like it kind of looks like with skin on it, my spiritual malady looks like this feeling that I'm not good enough. That if you really knew me, right? That I'm unworthy, that I'm unlovable, that I'm just not enough, right? Those are words that I would use to describe the feeling. And of course I feel like that when I feel like I'm disconnected from the power. Without a connection to the power, I am insufficient, right? Lack of power is my dilemma, right? It's through my connection, my consciousness of my connection with the power that I become whole, that I become useful. And so when I'm out in the world and I'm not connected, I'm not conscious of my connection with the power, the things you do, the things you say irritate me. They rub me wrong. They scare me. They make me move in ways that maybe otherwise I wouldn't. I intended to be nice until you said that, and then I cussed you out. You know what I mean? I'm at the whim and will of other people, and I don't want to be. I want to be free. Free from what? Free from the bondage. The bondage of what? The bondage of me. Right? And really, for me, it is free from the point of view that I am running the show. That I think I'm God, and I don't even know I think that. You ever having an argument with somebody, you going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you're winning the argument, like you're getting them on all the points? They not there though, it's just you. But you're answering for them, right? You know what they're gonna say. I mean, we do it all the time. I didn't apply for that job. I know I wasn't gonna get it. I didn't ask that person out. I know they weren't interested in me. I didn't, right? Because I think I know I don't know. And it's this freedom from my finiteness, my limited self that I'm seeking. And when I have that, right, how do I get that, right? There are two different ways I want to talk about it. And I'm all over the place, but that's just how it is, right? Just whatever I got, this is what you're going to get. On page 98 in the 12 and 12, it says that self-examination, prayer, and meditation, when logically related, they're not different things, right? I'm examining unceasing, unsparing self-examination. Now, I'm really good at unceasing, unsparing examination of you. What you did, what you should have done, what you didn't say, how you didn't act, how you didn't show up, what you committed to, but you didn't do. I'm at mastery on that. But it doesn't get me free. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't bring me joy. So that I've got to turn those great assessment skills onto myself and have this practice of unsparing, I don't sugarcoat it, unceasing, I never stop, self-examination. Prayer, calling out, talking to the power. Meditation, which back when the book was written meant contemplation. Now I want to turn us to page 25 in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's really funny. It's very funny the way that it's written. On page 25, it says, there is a solution. Now, I'm a little bit salty about this because the chapter starts on page 17, and it's called There's a Solution. And I want to know why it takes you until page 25 to say there's a solution. I mean, come on, folks, right? Why? Because the book is telling me, before it tells me what the solution is, why I need the solution. I annihilate all things worthwhile in life. But here it is. It says there's a solution. And then the next sentence could read, and the solution is, but it does not. It reads, almost none of us. It could say none. Almost none of us liked this page is so worn that it's missing part of it. Almost none of us like the self-searching. Isn't that the same as self-examination? The self-searching. See, it always begins with me looking at me. The leveling of our pride and the confession of our shortcomings, which the process requires for its successful consummation. Are you guys with me? So the solution is self-examination, leveling of pride, confession of shortcomings. What builds an unshakable foundation, right, is self-examination, prayer, and meditation. These are the things that I've got to get comfortable with. You know, and for the people, I think Irene, for the people, anybody that's new, anybody in the sound of my voice, in this moment or on a recording that hears me, I pray that you can just open your mind to the possibility that alcohol and drugs are only a symptom of your problem. I know it's whooping you because nobody gets here on a good day. Nobody comes here on the wings of victory. So you're here, you're probably pretty beat up. But I promise you that my use of things outside of me, alcohol, drugs, Amazon boxes, sex, working 80 hours a week, all of it was intended to distract me, to build up the illusion in my mind that I was running the show. And ultimately, all of those things failed. You know what I've got? Too much stuff. No, really, I'm unpacking. I'm born and raised in New York, and by the time I was 10, I had lived 9 places. When I was 23, I moved from New York to California in a geographic. And then I bottomed out in 4 years. I was bottomed out. I got here at 23. By 26, I was so bottomed out. And I found you guys. And, I've been here ever since. But I wasn't struck sane, right? Just sober, not sane. And so I've had a practice of using things outside me to make me feel good enough. I've got a stunningly beautiful collection of handbags and shoes that match. And beautiful furniture, beautiful. And you know what? I don't want none of it. Because it turns out the person who bought those things, I'm not even that person anymore. That's the good news. I've grown, I've evolved. And now they're more of a burden than they are a pleasure. Why am I telling you this? Because what I'm striving for not only is a solid foundation, not only to be in the solution, right, which you can see are very similar, but I'm striving to be free from the bondage of my point of view, the bondage of my selfishness, the bondage of my desire to have things my way. Ready? My being mad at you that you're not doing it the way that I want. You know what my sponsor Nancy says whenever I call her and complain? Olis, they never do it right. Nobody ever does it right. They're never going to do it right. And the spiritual axiom is whenever I'm disturbed, the problem is always me. The problem's always me, 100% of the time. Now, that's not to say that things don't happen to me that are bad. I've certainly been victimized, but I am not a victim because victims don't recover. As long as the problems that I suffer are not the result or the consequence of my decisions, but the problems that I suffer are because of you, I can't solve that. I couldn't stop drinking and using. How am I going to control a whole nother person? How am I going to get you to act right? I can't even get me to act right. So that the solution can only be found in me seeing how I put myself in a position to be harmed and to adjust the way that I move in the world so that I can avoid that pain in the future, if that is God's will for my life. I want to talk about a couple more things and then I want to go to Q&A because I really, really am all over the place. So I want to end by talking about this, what it looks like in my life right now, the bondage of self, right? So for me, the difference between perception and perspective is the issue. See, perception is me looking through a lens, my lens, looking at things from my point of view. I'm going to give you an example. There was a typhoon in Oakland, California. What are you talking about? There are no typhoons. There was a typhoon, right? Because Mother Earth is mad at us and she probably would like us to get off. But there's a typhoon and it blows tiles off the roof. It's just a mess. And I'm living in Jersey. And so I fly to California to deal with the water intrusion. And I'd built an in-law unit in my home to live in and then decided I didn't want to live there because, I move a lot. And the guy that I'm renting to, and then I built it for me, so it's lovely. And the guy that I'm renting to, I had a contractor come in and take up the flooring that had gotten wet. And the contractor said, hey, the floor in the front didn't get wet, but the underlayment got wet and it's still wet. And so if I just put a new flooring, mold will grow on the underlayment. The right thing to do is to tear everything up. Well, this is quite expensive, right? And I decide to, of course I want to do the right thing. And so I go to the tenant and say, hey, we need to pull everything up. And he says, well, it's not convenient for me for the contractor to come back Sunday. Contractor's got another gig, can't come back Monday or the next week. It's not convenient for me. I have to go to a football game. And I said, well, I can be here and let the contractor in. Oh, I don't want you here with my stuff. What? Like it rubbed me wrong. I'm not even doing the story justice. It really rubbed me wrong. And so I decided, well, I'm not going to redo everything and I'm going to take the stuff I bought back. And, I'm mad. And I called Sydney R. Thank you, Sydney. Love you, Sydney. Sydney out of LA. And I tell her the story and I say, I'm mad. Help me see it because I don't see it. And she said, which part? And I said, all of it. And then she busts me to the white meat. Do y'all know what that means? You know what it is to be busted to the white meat? No? Okay. So if you ever fall and hurt yourself or cut yourself, you'll see white before the blood comes. It's just the white. The black people know what busted white meat mean. It's white meat. The meat is white. Before the blood comes in, the meat just white. That's when you cut deep. Busted a white meat. She just busted me to the white meat. And she explained to me, and this is really a gift she gave to me, I want to give to you, that there are two domains that I can live in. I can live in the human domain where what the guy was saying was wrong and I was right. How dare you tell me I can't come into my property to have the contractor do the work that needs to be done? I'm right. Y'all all agree I'm right, right? In the human domain. But in the spiritual domain, I'm wrong. How am I wrong? I'm standing in all the blessings. I own the house. I can afford the contractor. I can buy the material. Everything. I have everything. And the guy has less power than me. And when I'm in that dynamic with someone, the only right thing spiritually is to be kind and to be accommodating and to be gracious. That's the only right thing to do. Because the things I have, the house, the materials, all of it is just moving through me. They're things that the power gave me. They're things the universe gave me. They're things that the source of all things gave me. They are not mine. They're just passing through me. In this arrogance that they're mine and how dare you is always the wrong position. 100% of the time. Here's the next one, and this will be the last one. I'm retired, and I've had a great career, like an amazing career, and I've been retired since the middle of 17, certainly the beginning of 2018, and I decided I want to be Builder Bob. I do. I want to be Builder Bob. I'm tired of relying on men to do stuff for me. I could tile, I could paint, I could lay. No, I can't. It's called DNY. It should be called DDI. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Oh my God, everything hurts. My back hurts, my feet, everything hurts. Everything hurts, right? But what does it stem from? It stems from this desire to have power, to be independent, to not rely on other people, to do it myself. Don't that sound like playing God? Yeah. It has whooped my whole behind. I mean, the whole thing. Not part of it, like all of it is whooped. Yes. And the delusion, right? Bondage of self, the delusion. Oh, I've done 7 or 8 rehabs. I know how it goes. This will take 6 weeks. Then I get into it. Oh, okay, maybe 12 weeks. By the time I'm finished, I'm going to be at 20 weeks, right? Because I can't trust my own thinking. In my bondage, I want it. I want it to be this way. I shouldn't even say this on the recording. I'm going to say it. Don't put this recording out. Some poor man had the nerve to like me. Oh my God, I feel bad for him, right? Because then I'm like, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll do that. Well, you late, well, you're slow, well, you're. Because I'm in the bondage, 37 years in, the bondage of self. And I don't think it's a time frame, right? I think that what happens in the bondage of self, for me, this freedom from it, comes like you peel away the layers of an onion. That I now know not to steal. I know now not to cheat. I know now not to cuss you out. I mean, there's some things I know, but it gets more and more refined as my recovery grows. And now this notion, right? And it's in, I believe, the 12 and 12, that my over dependence on other people is inappropriate. It's just inappropriate. And you liking me doesn't obligate you to do what I want, right? It's almost like, okay, I'm gonna stop. On page 275 in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a story by Sylvia Kay. Sylvia Kay is the first person in Alcoholics Anonymous, sorry I keep saying that, but it's the book, with long-term sobriety. And we think it's Marty Mann, who was a beast, but it was Sylvia Kay. And Sylvia Kay's story, keys of, not keys to, keys of, I'm already in the kingdom. I don't need the keys to the kingdom, keys of the kingdom. She says that, you know, I've got to keep one foot in front of the other. This is not a program that I'm going to be finished and done with. This will keep me striving for as long as I'm alive. But it's not as rough as it sounds, because it turns out that I get paid countless dividends for a consistent effort. I'm going to tie this up. What I believe Sylvia Kay is talking about is that I get this gift of being pulled back from the gates of hell. Do you remember when you couldn't stop drinking and using? Do you remember that? Do you remember when you drank and used against your will? Do you remember that? Do you remember when you swore to God you wasn't going to never do it again and you did it again? Do you remember that? Do you remember? Because I remember. Do you remember? And now that's not true no more. Now people could come to my house, they can have liquor. What you drink don't get me drunk. I don't care. Because I'm free. And what I'm talking about is an increasing level of freedom. The least interesting thing in my life right now is that I don't drink. It's the least interesting thing. The more interesting thing is my ability to live well with you. My ability to move in the world and be a light, to be a joy maker, to be a peacemaker. That's the more interesting, because that ain't easy. That's the more interesting part. But I can't do that if I'm in the bondage of myself. I can't do that if the foundation of my life is shakable. I can't do it. I can't even give me joy. How am I gonna give you something? And the way that I get there is this unceasing, unsparing self-examination, this prayer and meditation, this leveling of my pride, this confession of my shortcomings. And what I think Sylvia Kay is saying in this beautiful paragraph on 275 is that if I get the gift of getting free from alcohol and drugs, and I'm willing to continue to grow spiritually, that I'll get more and more and more gifts. So if you're here and the only thing you've got is abstinence, the only thing you've got is sobriety, is clean time, I want to tell you that there's something more. There's this living in a place that you're recovered. Recovered from what? Recovered from the bondage of self. So that's it for me. I hope that was long enough. I would love Q&A.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ross. I'm an addict. Just wanted to say thank you to Isaac for chairing the meeting, and I've had a double dose of Olis over the last week, and it's been a pleasure to listen to you. Thank you for your service, Olis. My question is, I mean, I'm just over a year in now, and you know, I pray and I meditate, but I do tend to drift into self quite a lot. You know, I try not to be judgmental, but it's definitely causes me more problems than I want to admit because I get resentful of people, and it's a continuous resentment which doesn't, you know, I write it down in the step 11 in the inventory in the evening, but it's a recurring one weekly with a particular person at the moment, and um, I yeah I don't quite know what my question is. I mean, I think we're judgmental as human beings anyway. I mean, if I admit that to myself, that's my not my nature, but I do tend to drift into that. But when I'm connected to the spirit, it's you know, I'm very much more accepting of. They're not the problem. I'm answering my own question here. Sorry, I do this quite a lot. My question is, I haven't got a question. I think I've just answered my question. I just want to say thank you for your service. Thanks.
Thanks, Ross.
Ugh.
Nicola, would you like to come in with your question, please?
Yes, thank you, Young. Thank you, Isaac. Thanks everyone for the meeting. Nicola, alcoholic addict. Thanks for your share, Olis. I go around the houses when I speak, so I'll just try and get out what I want to say, what I want to ask. So I'm just, God willing, coming up to 2 years, and I've just started going back through the steps. And the funny thing about being in recovery and being connected with beautiful people and God is that you get sent what you need to hear, you know. And recently I'm really getting sent stuff. And this bondage of self, coming up to 2 years, I feel like the first time I went through the steps and the stuff I did in the work in the book afterwards, it like drained the tank, made me smile. And then I've come back with a vengeance with myself, my self-centeredness. And I forgot, you know, when Chuck Chamberlain said in this recording that I've imposed on people for the whole time I've been in recovery, that I found the thing that I was looking for in the bottom of the bottle. And for a time I felt like that. And then more recently, it's just like, I know I'm not disconnected and everyone's tried to help, but it was just like I was struggling, and it's self, my judgment had crept back in, myself crept back in, and I'm having to go through the steps again. On the
Have you
back
got a
of it.
question, Olis?
Yeah, the question is, did you feel like that at a point in your recovery? Did you have like a feeling where I need to do more? I need to get rid of this self. This is not enough just to be free of alcohol and drugs or alcohol. Sorry, that's my question. She's muted.
Thank you. I want to say something to Ross's sort of question, and to also to you, Nicola. So first to Ross, like when you look at the third column in the resentment inventory, it asks you to examine the 7 parts of self, right? Which is an amazing tool I use all the time. But after that, when you get to page 67, it has what we call the sick man prayer. But the sick man prayer is not for the sick man. The sick man prayer is for me. And what it does is it asks me to consider, have I ever done, because it says I'm the same as the sick man, or the sick man's the same as me. Have I ever done the thing that I'm resenting the person for to them or to anyone else? And the answer for me is almost always yes. And that, what is called the realization, helps me move out of resentment. It helps me see that I'm mad at you for fill in the blank, but I've done it. I've done it over and over and over again. And then I can have compassion for the person who did it to me because I know I've done it to somebody. All right, Nicola. Yeah, absolutely. Over and over and over again. I feel like I need to do more. I feel like I need to do more right now, right? I've just a series like, oh, I decided I want a house with an in-ground pool, and so then I moved south. Oh, and then I got south, but then I didn't see a house that I liked, but then I put the other house on for sale, but then it didn't sell. So then I moved back into that house. Then I needed to do a renovation. Yeah. And when I stand back and look at all of it, I realize that I'm moving in a way that is too fast, is too aggressive. And I'm not giving enough space for the universe to care for me and carry me. And so I hope there's never a point in my recovery journey that I don't feel like there's more work to do. That the point of the whole deal for me is to continue to grow spiritually. And there's nothing wrong with growing spiritually. On the other side of it is always more happiness and more joy. Thank you.
Thanks, Olis, and thank you, Nicola, for the question. Next, we have Young. Would you like to come in with your question, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Isaac. Hi, everyone. My name's Young. I'm a very grateful recovered addict. Thank you, Olis. Love you. Always good to hear you. A quick question. First one, when are you going to get rid of all those handbags and shoes? Joking. The real question is, today, after 37 years, how are you growing along spiritual lines? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, it's really funny because, and I said it, and I really do mean it. The person who bought those things, that loved them, and they're so beautiful. I'm not even that person anymore, right? The ladies don't understand this. The pandemic changed everything. The men won't understand this. Remember when we wore underwire bras? Why? Oh my God. It's like a vice. You put it on and it doesn't hurt in the morning at about 4 o'clock. Oh my God. I have a beautiful collection of 20 or 30. Like, I'm never going to put those on. I don't care what they look like. I'm never going to wear them. And so I do need to find someone who's still suffering from the bondage of self in a way that they're willing to suffer to be that cute. I'm no longer willing to do that. So soon, Young, soon. I know this will sound crazy because I'm crazy. But my goal is to, well, who knows? Like, we'll see what God's got. Is to stay where I am for the next couple years and really divest as much stuff as I can. And I'm probably going to move out of the country, right? Someplace where the food's not poison. Do you know that we have a recall of the top tier brand of deli meat? 7 million pounds of deli meat. How do you mess up cinnamon? How do you recall cinnamon? Like, it's just, I don't want to anymore. I want to move someplace where life is simpler. And I think that what that requires is a shedding of a notion of who I am. I don't know if that makes sense to people, but I have to be open to the possibility that I am growing. And as I'm growing, I'm becoming someone new. And as I become someone new, it requires a letting go of who I've been. And that's what the work is about for me. And my gauge of if I'm doing it or not, honestly, is how kind am I? How useful am I? I don't know if that was responsive, Young, but thank you for the question, and I love you too.
Thank you for your question. We've got quite a few hands up and not loads of time left, so I'm going to cut time to ask a question to about a minute and a half, just so we can get to everyone. And next we have Greg. Would you like to come in, please?
Thanks, Isaac. I'm Greg. I'm an addict. Olis, thank you so much for a beautiful, powerful, thought-provoking, emotion-expanding share, which massively helped me. Olis, I'll get straight to the point. As soon as you started, I'm 28 years clean and sober. As soon as you started, you said, I'm in the middle of a house move, and you've got these people behind you moving about. And as we speak, I'm looking at houses to move very, very soon and to sell my house. And if there was anybody in the room when I'm going to speak on a Zoom meeting, I would want to strangle them or demand that they sit in another room absolutely still, and I don't want to hear a squeak while I'm speaking in this meeting. And you were not like that. What am I doing wrong, Olis? Talk to me. God bless you.
Good luck with the house search and good luck with the move. I want to admit that and I try not to cuss in meetings at Alcoholics Anonymous or a CA, especially if I am, wait, hold on. Those are not yours. Yours are in a different bag. No, I'm not crazy. He's my cousin. He's trying to steal my pots. I maybe 2 months ago would have been annoyed because 2 months ago I thought the way that I see things is the way they need to be. And in this particular move, in this particular renovation has been so difficult that I'm at a level of surrender that's new for me. And if I could say anything, I would say that whatever is happening is perfect. Just let it be and accept what is and accept the gift of what is.
Thank you for your question, Greg. Next, we have Tanvir. Tanvir, would you like to come in, please?
Thank you. Hey guys, Tanvir, Addict. Olis, thank you so much, man. That was beautiful. I really needed to hear that today. I took so much from that, and I'm so excited to see you at 37 years and still speaking so much sense, and I accept that this is going to be a beautiful journey for me too. One thing in particular that stood out to me, and I mean, everything stood out to me there, but you mentioned a very challenging sort of paradigm there with your tenant and the fact that you were raging. And I was thinking, rightfully so, man, I would be raging too, but you called a friend and they were able to give you some advice that was actually truly quite enlightening. I struggle sometimes with that in the sense that when a fellow calls me and he's raging about something, I'm raging with him too. I'm like, yeah, man, damn, like that's messed up. Like, what the hell? Like, she said what? And I struggle, I think, sometimes to answer back with serenity in the same way that your friend did. So have you got any advice in your experience on how to handle giving advice to your fellows?
My only purpose in a connection, I used to think it was in Alcoholics Anonymous or in CA, sorry, but the only purpose that I have is to be of maximum service to God and the people around me. And if all I'm doing is agreeing with you, then I'm not being helpful. That my job when you call me is to help you see how you can make lemonade out of lemons, how you can use it for your spiritual development, how you can transcend whatever the fray is. That's my job. And even with sponsees, we're out of time, so I'm going to try to be quick, right? I'm not going to make you do anything. I'm going to offer you something. I'm going to gently remind you a couple times, like, well, you ain't never done the inventory. I told you to do the inventory. If you did the inventory, it would be bad. But I'm not going to make you, right? And so it's this gentle reminding people that there is a better way. I hope that's useful. But I want to co-sign too. I do. I want to co-sign. Okay.
Thanks for your question, Tanvir. Next, we got Jacqueline. Would you like to come in with your question, please?
Please. Hi, Olis. It was great to hear you today. It's nice to see you. And I would love to know what your daily prayer and meditation practice is like. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm off my daily prayer meditation practice because, can you see it? Can you see it? But generally, I wake up in the morning. I guess I should start in the evening, but I wake up in the morning and I reach for my phone because I coddle my phone. Anybody else coddle their phone? And I go to my calendar and I look at the day. Sometimes I do that before I go to sleep. And I prepare with God how I'm gonna live that day. I've come to believe the most important resource I'll ever have is time. And so I go to God in the morning, sometimes at night, but in the morning, and say, here's the stuff that's on our calendar that we're supposed to do today. How am I going to get this done? And then at night, before I go to sleep, I don't do a written 11-step inventory every night. I have, but I'm not doing that now. I just, before I go to sleep, lay in bed and I reflect on the day and I find moments to be grateful for. I find places where I could have been a better version of myself. And I ask God to help me do better. And I ask God to forgive me if I've played God that day, which these days is every day. I hope that that's helpful. I don't have like a stack of books. I'm not using Insight Timer these days. I'm not doing any of that. I'm probably distracted by self-will. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Next, we have Megan. Megan, could you come in with your question, please?
Hi, everyone. My name's Megan. Hopefully very quickly. Olis, thank you very much. That was mind-blowing. For today, I've recovered from alcoholism, but I smoke cigarettes. And I want to know if you think that that is related to what you say about peeling an onion, because I don't feel free, because I'm not doing a spiritual thing by contaminating my body. So is it a case of the time will come when I just am relieved of this dreadful thing? Or do I need to do something different?
Megan, thank you so much for the question. I have no idea for you. I know for me, when I smoked, I was using tobacco to give me a sense of ease and comfort. I was using tobacco to take the edge off, to help me kind of cope and relax. And I have come to believe that anything I use outside of my relationship with the power to give me that is only a sense of ease and comfort. It's not real ease and comfort. And that I'm robbing myself. I'm shortchanging myself. Tobacco's tough. I overdosed on the patch to get free. But if it's not working for you, then try to do something different. I struggle with sugar. I struggle. Like I'm human. I struggle. And I know that anything I'm using outside of my relationship with the power is really ultimately blocking me from the sunlight of the spirit. And I get to decide as I go along, how free do I want to be? Thank you for the question. I hope that was helpful.
Great question. Thanks, Megan. Next, we have Ollie. Would you like to come in with your question?
Good evening, Olis. Oliver here, alcoholic. Thank you so much for your share. Olis, my question is this. If I was irritable and discontented, restless, irritable, and discontented at the age of 8 years old, let's say, and that alcohol is but a symptom of our disease, would that mean that I'm suffering from a spiritual malady at the age of 8 years old, and that I am an alcoholic before I ever pick up the first drink?
I appreciate the question, and I'm going to answer it indirectly because, maybe there's an area of some debate here. When you read the text says that most people try to live by self-propulsion, not alcoholics, most people. And if you look at the world around us, you can see that people are trying to live by self-propulsion, right? This rugged individualism, I think I'm out of time.
No, carry on, please, Olis. We've got 2 minutes.
Okay. So the quick way to answer it is I believe that I had a spiritual malady before I took a drink. And I think that alcohol was initially a symptom, a solution to the problem that I had. It helped me feel okay. It helped me feel safe. And it helped initially. It stopped working, right? It fun and problems. So I believe that I had a spiritual malady before I had an addiction, and that the addiction came from attempting to treat the spiritual malady with something. Some people do it with food, some people do it with sex, some people do it with drugs, some people, right? And so we're not the only people who have spiritual maladies. We're the people who use drugs and alcohol to treat the spiritual malady. Was that helpful? I hope that was helpful.
Thank you for your question, Ollie, and thank you for taking the time to answer them, Olis. Just going to stop the recording.